I've just picked out 3 industries that are particularly critical for climate change. So I've mentioned urban design and planning. So I think in some of the previous slides, you've seen what I'm talking about here. But effectively, you know, our goals in NEOM, building at large scale to cater for the needs of a growing population in a more sustainable way, is going to create insights and knowledge for everybody. And the beauty of what we're doing is that it's not just an academic pursuit. Many of the world's leading architects and urban planners are working actively with us on this. And therefore, we believe that the impact will be right across the global industry. So if that is your passion, if that is what you're interested in, making our lives more sustainable, more livable, and economically beneficial as well, reaching that equilibrium, then this is what we're about. And so I mentioned the Institute for Cognitive Cities, but there are many other areas that we can get involved in. Sustainable mining is another area. Now, why is mining important for sustainability? Many people think, well, that's the dirtiest industry ever, and why are you talking about that? But it's obvious that we need minerals. We need the resources to build the electrical systems and the autonomous systems, and all of the sustainable technologies need the materials for that, and there's a shortage of that. Not only that, the mining industry is quite far behind in terms of moving towards sustainability. And I know they're making huge efforts to change, but they need help. And effectively, we have an area called OXAGON in NEOM, and they are effectively a leading hub for green manufacturing, green logistics. And part of that includes exploring how we can change the mining industry. Again, looking at this holistically, taking right from the beginning, from cradle to cradle, right to the end, and looking at how we prospect to how we actually industrialize the minerals. And effectively, this looks at all the areas where mining today impacts the environment, starting from the air pollution to waste to water, right across the whole life cycle, and just looking at every single element and how we can actually reduce the waste to an absolute minimum. And so we're looking at the best of today's technologies. Our aim will be to have as close as possible to zero avoidable environmental impact. And let me just clarify, this is not about mining necessarily in NEOM. This is about aiding the worldwide mining industry to change across the world. And at the bottom here, you have some of the emerging technologies that go beyond what is being done elsewhere that will actually take us to the next step that we're exploring here. We're applying seismic sensors to this ambient noise tomography that will allow us to see underground up to 2 kilometers in a non-invasive way. And not only that, well, that's already a big improvement because you don't need to drill the boreholes. You can deploy these sensors, but you need to connect up those sensors. And that's partially why we invested in in our joint venture with OneWeb to provide connectivity to connect up all of these sensors right across the whole of the Middle East and Africa. And effectively, that connectivity combined with a new technology allows you not only to explore non-invasively, but also to very rapidly get results within 4 days rather than 3 to 5 months. And that connectivity layer that we're providing right across Africa and the Middle East is going to be critical for mining because they're in some of the most remote areas in the world. And that's where they need this help. Beyond that, I mean, we talked about 2 kilometers, but we believe that even newer technologies such as quantum gravity, which are these incredible sensors that you can put into space, and from space you can detect tiny variations in the gravitational field and detect those variations underneath the ground down to 10 or 20 kilometers. That is not yet commercial yet, but that offers huge potentiality of actually seeing much further than ever before. And then, of course, robotics is critical. We believe that once you have that connectivity, you can allow robots to be much smarter and much more targeted. Rather than having machines that dig everywhere, you would actually just target what you need quickly, and then we can actually then use those robots to repair the land after the mining. Space is another area. I'll finish with space. Something I'm very passionate about. As I said, only from space can we see the big picture, and NEOM is a big picture type of organization. And as an accelerator of human progress, there's only one way to go, as humans, it's to space and to the stars. So eventually that's going to be our future. But right now, we can learn from space technologies how to live better on Earth. And that's a key focus for us, because effectively there's no more hostile environment for human survival than space. And what we can learn from the technologies that are being deployed to support humans into space, we can test them out on the ground. And we're looking to build a analog testing ground in NEOM, where we can actually see how these technologies can be applied to sustainable living on Earth. We're also very interested in, again, new, ambitious, risky projects that maybe are based on existing technologies, such as space-based power has been around for decades, but we now believe the convergence of technologies and resources is such that the economic model is now viable, and the technical model is viable, and there is an organization such as NEOM that is ready with the courage to really make this work at scale. And so we're working with, we're talking to various partners, including SSL in the UK, about this, and we're very interested to speak to more partners to test this out for the first time in NEOM. In one geo-orbit around the world, there is 1,000 times the total energy required for the whole of humanity forever. That's the potential. That is a massive potential. However, space has got challenges today. We all know that even though there's not a lot of flights compared to aviation, the impact is huge. Every space flight is 300 to 400 kilos of carbon. And that's going to increase as the launches increase. And that's exciting for the space industry, but they will never be able to go ahead with their plans if they don't change the way they do things. So again, we're leveraging our knowledge and our expertise and our investments in green hydrogen to put that at the service of the space industry and develop new fuels that will replace the hydrogen that is being used today. And they can be different fuels on each stage of the launch. And that's, I think, a critical element for the space industry to be successful. Not only that, we should even go further and look at amazing new technologies that are even more sustainable, that don't even use fuels, such as slingshots. And there's a company called Spin Launch in the US that we've started talking to, and we're just very impressed by what they do. But we think there needs to be more thinking in that sense of completely going out of the box and looking at new ways of doing things.